Hello viewers, Tim Paul here on the Huddle, and I'm with Harmen Brenninkmeijer, Chairman of NYCE International. We're always meeting at new locations, it seems. Last time we spoke was in Manila.
Yep.
Nice to see you here in Rome.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to be here. Rome is, where history is made. Let's try to do so for the gaming industry.
Absolutely. Wanted to start off with latest developments for NYCE International for your company, because obviously we spoke, a year and a half is roughly when we last did a Huddle interview. A lot can happen in a year and a half, so what's been happening for you guys?
Well, NYCE International represents about 50 plus gaming companies around the world. Our focus has been to basically get listed. The only reason why we listed is not because of the fact that we got a lot out of it at this stage. It is in order to give us liquidity, in order to go back into the venture building. Where we're focused on is building ventures within. So we have an affiliate venture. We acquired a platform, and we're going to do game aggregation. We're going to be focusing much more on, let's say, the various technologies, game development. And we have some really exciting opportunities coming, or let's say new challenges, whereby we feel that we're going to be one of the first ones to offer that to the marketplace. So it's an exciting play, and yes, that still has to even remotely show in our stock price.
Absolutely. So when we last spoke, referencing it once again, there was a topic that we delved into in the Philippines: live slots. And not live slots as in live casino, but actual, a truly omnichannel.
Correct.
Or perhaps as close to a pure omnichannel product
Correct.
as we can have. Slot machines that are played on mobile, but they're physical slot machines. We spoke about this, in Manila about a year and a half ago. And to illustrate my point of how much can change in that time, recently Aristocrat has acquired a wager which focuses very much on US, a similar concept or that concept. So are we looking at perhaps now a new vertical that's essentially going mainstream?
Oh, definitely. I think this vertical, is still in its starting stage. We've seen a lot in Asia happening already. We have over, per my estimate, about 8,000 machines that are offered as live slots. That basically means an individual player plays on one machine. So there is no, let's say, proxy betting in the background yet at this stage. And a lot of people will not make that happen either. I personally believe that needs to happen, but that's a different discussion altogether.
Is that just for scale almost?
Absolutely. It's for skill, and it's for a lot of people just want to see, they don't mind betting as the person in front of them is betting. So I just think that's a matter of, let's say comfort or let's say they don't even have to think about it, right? They just basically have to go with every bet, that's being placed in front of them. And I think that for a lot of players is fine. I do believe that, let's say, what Aristocrat did was a hell of a move with regards to the regulated markets. And obviously, Aristocrat being, who they are and the strength of the company, they have the opportunity to really roll that product out much more than anybody else could. And they can offer it, in combination with, let's say, some of the new games and let's say existing games. Even older games could find a rebirth, on the basis of this.
AI, maybe 2-3 years ago, in interviews like this, it might have been a small topic. Then it became a big topic. Now it's a case of, if I speak to you, I don't mention AI or you don't mention AI, we're not really doing our jobs as analyzing the industry. But why, broader than the industry perhaps, or in general, I know you have some thoughts on where AI is going, and perhaps from a regulation sense.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts related to AI. Agentic AI, generative AI, let's say, where will we be 3-5 years time from now? I think a lot of things will change. I think at this moment, everybody is dibbling and dabbling into it in order to try to figure it out. Gaming industry is more complicated because we're so highly regulated. So we are very much dependent on what is allowed and what's not allowed. The regulators absolutely have to get their head around it and have not. I think at this stage, I am fearful of the following development. That is that the EU is going to set very tight guardrails with regards to how AI can be implemented in the various areas. And I think that's not going to happen with regards to the United States or China. Of course, China's not going to be a player in, let's say, AI and gaming, but the fact that their models are available to a lot of people around the world, that basically means they can still develop product upon those, open AI systems that effectively have been created by the Chinese or the Americans for obvious reasons, and then they will take a leading role in that. That basically means that in Europe, a lot of things might not get implemented. And then the rest of the world will run by Europe the players will then get annoyed because when they play on an AI-based platform, they will get a number of advantages, and they're like, okay, I'm playing in a regulated area. I'm paying the taxes. I make sure that everything is, a proper, from my player's perspective. But what do I get in return for that? And I feel that if Europe is not careful, they actually drive far more of the play into the gray market.
I mean, this next question might be, there's not specifically an answer perhaps to it now, but how do we get around that? Is it purely just on regulators to catch up? Is there something operators and suppliers can almost maybe invest in and acquire US businesses? Is there a way around it?
Well, the way around it is the fact that I think guardrails are very necessary within AI. The problem is everybody should adhere to those, no matter if they're Chinese American or from any other country for that matter. But Europe taking a leading role in AI guardrailing and then basically not allowing a lot of these developments to happen, I think it's going to set it back. And I think, we have to be very careful. Europe has already set itself back, in many other areas. And that basically means, with regards to financing, with regards to, let's say, how investments could be written off, etc. I'm just talking macro scale, nothing related to gaming, but that has an implication and impact on gaming. And I feel that we need to make sure that as European regulators or as operators that then talk to European regulators or as suppliers that talk to European regulators, we need to make sure that everybody understands that, we cannot be too careful, when the rest of the world is running by us. So we have to be, very open-minded on what needs to happen, and we need to share everything that's happening and what potentially could happen and how that could be to the benefit of the player, as well as how the regulator, could still feel that they have control over it.
Absolutely. If this issue, let's say, isn't addressed and is left in their current state, over the next 12 months, 24 months, how does that, do we start to see a clear acceleration in Europe going one way and America and China going the other?
I absolutely believe that. Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you can already see a lot of development. I mean, the average European, we're in Italy right now. I don't know how many people use, I haven't looked at the statistics, JetGPT or OpenAI or any of the other, large language models, but it's a lot less than in many other countries. And I think Europe is going to fall back. There's no doubt about it, because it doesn't entice, or it doesn't, let's say, promote, a lot of the play. And we just don't have our own home winners, in Europe that really, can deliver what the Americans or the Chinese can deliver. And that's a problem.
More generally, in the next 12, 24 months, what do you see in terms of positive trends, perhaps in Europe, maybe to counterbalance the fact that the AI is going potentially what you mentioned in the wrong way?
One of the very positive trends in Europe is that we have absolutely regulated iGaming to such an extent that at least we are able to play. Many other countries, we know from our, discussions in Asia, in Manila, Southeast Asia especially, there are no regulations other than the Philippines itself. And that basically means that there's a real problem there. So in other words, we at least have a regulatory environment that at least is a foundation. The United States has a foundation in a number of states. But again, where it concerns casino games, only in 8 states. Yes. Where it concerns, sports betting in 32 states. Great. But that's not enough, is it? So the point is, we need to at least create or use that foundation and build upon that foundation, whereby we can basically say, okay, compliance, AML, KYC, all of that is very standard. Great. We can already work with AI. We already can implement, better controls, etc. We can make a more smooth going process. What we now need to do is start thinking about how can that basically be, how can it be promoted in such a way that the players just get the benefits of it? So, for example, it could be that you cannot do cashback. You cannot do, you don't kick back a lot of things. But what you could do is you could give them more spins. You could give them more bonuses. You could give them more, but then to the player. So in other words, for the player itself, it becomes a better experience. And hopefully in the end, a lesser expensive experience. And that, again, should, be to, let's say, the benefit of compulsory gamblers. So I just believe over time, if we do it right, we can actually help, the industry as a whole. And I think that there are enough smart people in Europe that can see this. I'm just not sure if we have enough properly educated regulators in this area that can handle it.
So a positive message going forward, but a clear area of education. That's something we can talk. education collaboration with regulators and industry, and I think that's something that's
totally.
always been at the heart of
Yes.
what we do.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that as an industry, we don't work enough together. We're all competitive against one another, etc. We don't put money into a central pot that basically says, and now we can have some influence in order to talk to regulators as a one body that basically then says, what about this, what about that, what about... Regulators need to also feel trust from the industry, that the industry is not just all about the money or just not all about the competition and trying to outdo one another. It is also about how can you help us in order to create a environment that is sustainable. The Netherlands is a good example where I thought there was a sustainable environment and then the government goes totally against it and it gets broken down. So, it is a bad example of where, things can go if it is not done right.
Netherlands is the example that comes up the most, and in the UK, where we're based,
you're also facing very heavy challenges.
The budget comes end of this month, and we'll see what it means for the industry.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a scary thought at this moment based on the rumors.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got our fingers crossed for that one as an industry.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, Harmen, thanks very much for your time. Always a pleasure. Always some very insightful thoughts from you. So until next time, all the best.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. Thank you.